Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you are new. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get straight into today's video. So today's video is very exciting because we are going to be kicking off our anime nail series. And if you guys don't know, a little while ago, I did say I was going to be doing an anime nail series and it was actually suggested by one of you guys. Now, yesterday, I had you guys vote on which anime I should start out with. And the options were Black Butler, Soul Eater, and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And guess which one won? The most difficult one. Okay, so we are going to be doing some JoJo inspired nails, and a little bit earlier today I drew up a freestyle. So this is what we drew up today, and as you can see, it's a lot going on. So this is definitely going to take me probably like 2 days. I don't really know yet. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. Now this video is going to be a little bit different because I'm not going to be doing my own nails. I'm actually going to be doing a press-on nail set. And the reason for that is because, again, this is going to take a very long time. And I would rather have it on a press-on nail set than to have it on my nails and it's not finished and I like go to bed on them. So yeah, I don't want to do that. And also, I feel like it would be a great experience for me to do a press-on nail set on camera because I do press-ons sometimes, not all the time, but I've never showed you guys. So yeah, we're going to do that today. So I have this little magnetic stand that we're going to be using. I've had it for quite some time now, and I'm just going to take out everything and get everything nice and set up, and I will come right back. So let's start out by getting some of these nail tips on, and to kind of stick these down, of course, I'm just going to be using a little bit of putty. Now, me personally, I do prefer to use the white putty instead because I feel like the blue is kind of distracting, whereas the white isn't as distracting. So I'm just going to put a little bit on each of these little stands. Okay, and now I'm just going to size out some of these nails. I'm just going to measure them through my gloves because I pretty much know my sizes. And I'm just going to press these down. I don't want to press them down too hard, but I do want to make sure that it's nice and on there. Okay, so I have all of the nail tips on, but I'm actually going to be cutting these down. And the reason I'm going to be cutting these down is because they kind of taper off at the ends, and I want to make sure that they're nice and square. So instead of trying to fix the shape with the acrylic, I'm just going to glue on some square tips on top of these. So I'm just going to cut the tips off of these nails. And now I'm going to glue on my favorite nail tips that I use in pretty much all of my videos. But actually, before I do that, I think I'm just going to file the surface of where I'm going to glue the nail tips on, just so that there's a little bit of friction. So kind of like this. And now I'm just going to glue on the matching nail size. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and cut these down because these are too long. Okay, they're too long. I think I want to do like similar to how long the reference photo was. And I would say it's probably to about here, maybe. Yeah, I think that's okay. Now I just have to like pair up the length on all of the nails, which is kind of difficult with press-ons. So I'm gonna try and get this right. Okay, this is good enough. And now I'm gonna take this fine grit sanding band just to kind of scuff up the surface. And this is because I really wanna make sure that the product actually sticks on these nail tips. And I'm also making sure to kind of bring in the sides of these nail tips just to make sure that nothing's poking through. And I'm also going to try and straighten up the free edge just a little bit. So the nails are nice and prepped. I am just going to put these on the side for just a second because we have some color mixing to do really quickly. Now for my ring finger, I'm actually going to be creating a light blue jelly gel polish. So I'm just going to take my mixing plate and I'm going to be using Pool Party from Nail Reserve LA. This is a really nice blue and I feel like it works really well when you add a little bit of base coat and just make it more translucent. So I'm just going to mix this with a little bit of base coat. Okay, I think this looks pretty good. So now I'm just going to take this ring finger and I'm going to apply it to the bottom half of this nail tip. And I'm going to go ahead and cure this. And before I move on to the application, I'm going to go over this with a layer of matte top coat. And I'm curing this for a full 60 seconds. So the application is done. Now I'm going to go ahead and start shaping up these nails. Now, typically when I am shaping up the nails, I do kind of like to remove it from the putty, if that makes sense. Mainly because there's going to be a lot of dust that gets stuck to these and I don't want it on the putty and just looking gross. And also because I do need to file underneath this nail just to make sure that this line of demarcation isn't showing through the front. So yeah, I'm just going to take these off really quickly and yeah, we'll start shaping these up. And then I'm just going to put this to the side. I don't want this to get super dusty. All right, so I have my dust collector and I'm just going to go ahead and start shaping up these nails. Okay, so all of the shaping is done and this is what they're looking like so far. Now we're gonna go ahead and get onto the nail art process, and I'm just going to say this. I probably won't be doing any type of explaining at all because this is gonna be a pretty challenging nail set. So for the most part, we are just going to be relaxing and doing this nail set. Well, instead of saying we, I think you're gonna be relaxing. I'm going to be dying. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it.
Hello, hi, it is me from the future. So let's go ahead and get into this nail set. Now, as I mentioned earlier on in the video, I'm not really going to be explaining too much that I'm doing here. This is really just for your enjoyment and for my suffering. So we just went ahead and put a ton of colors onto my mixing plate. Now, most of these colors are from Nail Reserve LA. So I will try my best to find all of the links for these different gel polishes. Okay, so now we are on to the first nail. And I will say that this first nail is kind of inspired by Stardust Crusaders just in general. It's like loosely inspired by that season. Now, what I will say is that this is probably my favorite season in the show thus far. And that's mainly because of Jotaro and Muhammad. Those are like my two favorite characters. Now, of course, I won't go into like any type of show spoilers because that's just so whack. I'm not going to do that. But anyway, I really wanted to talk about Jotaro and why he's my favorite. But like, also he's kind of problematic. I will definitely say that. So first of all, he's amazing. And I think that out of all of the Joestars, he has like my favorite stand, mainly because I think his stand is so cute and like I feel like his stand ability is definitely very powerful. And also Jotaro's hot, so like why wouldn't I like this season? However, I feel like Jotaro as a person is one of those like I'm too cool to be in school type of guys, and he's just kind of a jerk sometimes. So yeah, not really great. But I do think on a very base level, his character and personality is redeemable, and he kind of has like character growth towards other seasons. But again, I'm not really going to talk about that too much. Now, with me talking about the show while I'm doing these nails, I do want to mention that I am only going to be like referring to what happens in the show. And that is because unfortunately, I haven't really gotten the chance to read the manga. And now that I think about it, it's something that I definitely want to do because I just feel like I should do that, you know? And also I just feel like manga has a very different feel because when you try and transfer something over into a moving picture, things get a little bit weird and things start to change, and I feel like the authenticity doesn't really shine as bright, but that's just my opinion. Even with that being said, I do think the show is still really great, and I feel like it does a really good job at actually like displaying the art style in a reasonable way. Because one thing I've noticed about like anime, and if you've watched any type of anime before, you will also agree, but when you transfer something from a manga to an anime, I feel like it loses some of its light. I don't know if that makes any sense. But anyways, I'm not really here to critique the show or anything like that. I'm just kind of like filling in some dead space. But onto this nail, I will say that this was probably the easiest and my least favorite nail in this entire nail set. And that's because I feel like in comparison to the other colors and the other nails, it didn't really fit in as well as I hoped it would. And I kind of felt the same way that I did about this nail when I drew it. So I was hoping that maybe when I sat down to do this nail set, I would make it look better somehow. I don't know. Like, I think it's a really great nail on its own, but when you put it up with the others, it doesn't really have the same aesthetic, if that makes any sense. But also, I really wasn't too worried about it because I feel like the show also has a lot of different aesthetics. So in the end, it kind of makes sense. Now, for whatever reason, I decided that I actually wanted to make these stars 3D. And in my head, I thought it was a great idea, but then I realized that this was the only 3D nail in this whole nail set, so it didn't really make any sense. But I do think it was still cool. Now, as you guys know, the other options were Black Butler and Soul Eater. And I do think that the 3D stars would work really, really well with Soul Eater. So maybe I will pull this back up when I do those nails. And I'm actually really excited to do the Soul Eater nails and especially the Black Butler nails. But when I get to those nail sets, I will talk about my origin story with those animes, especially Black Butler, because that one is definitely very nostalgic for me. But now it's not the time for that. Okay, so the top coat is on this nail, and this nail is 100% finished. So now we are jumping to the middle finger, and the reason I skipped my pointer finger is because in my head, it made sense to do the easiest nails first, and for me, that included the blooming gel nails. So I'm going to be doing a similar thing on this nail, except it's going to be pink and not as in your face. Now this nail is actually inspired by JoJo Leon, and this is not something that has showed up in the show yet. Currently, we are still at Stone Ocean, so yeah, I think this is after Johnny Joestar, I believe. So after Johnny, I believe it's Josuke, which is so weird because there's already a Josuke that pops up in this show. And he literally has the exact same name, which is annoying. But yeah, I, again, have not read the manga, so I don't really know about this character that much, or really at all. But I do really like the character design of Josuke from this season. And I really love the soap bubbles and the little stars in them. Now, I will say that I did not plan on getting this detailed with these bubbles, but once I sat down and opened up another reference photo, I really just got to work and started adding a lot of different colors. And I feel like that normally happens when I do a freestyle. You guys already know that when I do these, I kind of just add things here and there that I kind of want to change or alter. And I feel like I probably shouldn't have done that here because there was a lot of different details that kind of merged and blended together. And especially on camera, you can't really see much of what I'm doing because unfortunately the camera that I'm using from my phone is really annoying. So sometimes if I get a little bit too close, it'll literally blur up so bad. And to be honest, I'm never even really that close. It just blurs so easily. So you can't really see much of what I'm doing. So I just want to apologize. My phone literally hates me. Eventually, I do think I want to invest in a camera, an actual professional camera, but that would require me saving up and also learning how to use a camera because I'm clueless. I am. But luckily, not all of the footage is completely trashed. And I honestly think that these bubbles were super nice. And I was actually kind of surprised with myself with how nice I was able to draw them. And if you guys don't really know, I don't really do nail art like this. This is probably my first time actually drawing on my nails. And I have mentioned in the past that I do like to draw, so this was something that I really wanted to challenge myself with because I know how to draw on paper and I know how to draw on my computer, but drawing on nails is an entirely different ballgame. And I think this nail set definitely gave me the confidence I needed to get more into this and focus a lot more on nail art. So hopefully in the future, I can do more stuff like this. Now, eventually, I did start to outline these bubbles, and before I cured this, I actually decided that I wanted to do a little bit of hatching, and that's something that's very prevalent in not only JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but a lot of retro anime and manga. They love hatching and cross-hatching for some reason, and I feel like it definitely adds a lot of, retro vibes. I don't really know, but I really like it. So now we are on to the ring finger, and this nail is specifically inspired by my girl Jolene. I love Jolene. She's my favorite character in this entire show. Well, I'll say one of my favorite characters. It's definitely her, it's definitely Jotaro, and again, Muhammad. I don't know, like he's not a Joestar, but I love him. It's actually very weird because I feel like it's very cliche to say that my favorite Joestars are Jotaro and Jolene because they definitely get a lot of the spotlight, but I feel like it's definitely deserved because they are like really what make the show. And speaking of things that make the show, I will say that there is kind of like a negative side to the reputation of the show. And I feel like a lot of that comes from a lot of like the homophobic jokes that are made about some of the characters. Now, this isn't something that I think people still make jokes about, but I remember when the show first got super popular and everyone would joke about how quote unquote gay the characters were and how their styles were very flamboyant and it was weird. And it was just such a weird thing. And I honestly feel like the memes and the homophobic jokes are really what made the show skyrocket, which is such a terrible thing. But luckily, I think that in 2024, most people don't care about how flamboyant the characters are or quote unquote gay or whatever the case may be. Like, I feel like people are just kind of like enjoying the show for what it is. It's just a show and these are just characters. And honestly, I love all of the different characters. And one thing I will say is that the artist is not afraid to display femininity within his characters because even though these characters are very masculine, they're also very feminine. And I really do like that. So now we're gonna go ahead and get into one of the hardest nails that I have ever done. This is another Jolene inspired nail. And when I say it's inspired by her, I mean like her face is like literally on this nail. And surprisingly enough, even though this is probably the most difficult nail in this nail set, this was my favorite and the most fun out of this entire nail set. I feel like this is really where I like channeled my creativity and I just really enjoyed it. Now, I actually saw a nail set on Pinterest of someone who did JoJo's Bizarre Adventure inspired nails where they did this like lime green and pink spider web, and I was really inspired by that, so I wanted to incorporate that into the set as well. But instead of writing JoJo in the middle, I decided to draw her face, which was very interesting. Now, in the reference photo, I was supposed to draw her face a little bit different, but I actually ended up changing it because I felt like the face was strange the way I drew it. So I felt like I need to redeem myself because duh, right? So while we are here, I thought it would be really fun to talk about my least favorite Joestars. Now, I thought it would be fun because like I told you guys my favorites. Why not tell you my least favorite? So I would definitely say that there are 3 that are definitely my least favorite. Like, I don't dislike them, but they're very forgettable. I would say at spot number 3 would definitely be Josuke. He is probably my least favorite, and that's because I actually think that his character and his personality is actually very interesting and not as forgettable as the other 2. And also, I think his standability is very unique and also very useful and powerful. So I'm not going to be too harsh on him. Now, for number 2, I would say it would definitely be Giorno. And I feel bad for saying that. Now, I think he's very stylish and I really like his character design, but I'll be honest, I can't remember his stand ability. I can't remember anything that happened in his season at all. And for that, he's getting points knocked off. And my number 1 least favorite Joestar has to be Jonathan. And if you watch the show, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't even need to tell you. Well, I mean, I probably do. The reason I don't really like him is because he's not very interesting. I don't know. And maybe he's not supposed to be that interesting because, I don't know, like he's the first, so I don't know. But I don't find his character to be very interesting. Like he's a good guy and that's kind of it. Like I know you guys are gonna hate me for saying this, but I actually like Dio Brando because he's interesting, he has lore, he has personality, and I like that. Whereas Jonathan is kind of just there. So yeah. But one thing I really wanted to mention, I'm not just going to sit here and rag on these characters, but why I wanted to bring that up is because one thing I really love about just art in general is you can really see the progression of storytelling and art styles and aesthetic and how you piece everything together. Because when the show first started, there was definitely a stark difference from how it is now. I feel like the show started very slow and it wasn't as interesting, but now it's like it can definitely captivate you. Now, of course, with that being said, I am still kind of prone to falling asleep on the show because it's very long. And also I do still feel like sometimes it is a little bit dragged out, but I do feel like the characters are a lot more interesting now. The show is more colorful and it's a lot more enjoyable now. And I really do like being able to see the progression of stuff like that. But I don't know, that's kind of just me. So now we are onto Jotaro's face, and this was the first face that I decided to do because I wanted to make sure that his face actually looked good because I can't afford to mess him up. Like, that's just so wrong and foul. But I will say this nail did not really turn out exactly the way I wanted it to. And that's maybe because I've never drawn faces on nails before, so it kind of makes sense. It wasn't necessarily terrible, and I do feel like it still looks really great, but I feel like his eyes are too close. So it kind of ruins it a little bit. So I feel like if I were to do this again, I would definitely make his eyes not as close together. And maybe that's just me being a tough critic, but I think that kind of ruins this nail for me. And also I think his right eye is slightly bigger than the other, which also makes his face look kind of derpy, so I don't know. But one thing I will say is that drawing faces on nails really wasn't as difficult as I was making it out to be. And I think that kind of happens when you first try to do something. You kind of psych yourself up and convince yourself that it's harder than it actually is. But it was actually pretty simple. I just had to make sure to do everything in multiple layers and cure everything in between. And also just use a reference photo and take your time and really just sit down and enjoy the process. And of course, for these faces, I definitely wanted to make sure to encapsulate the art style as best as I could. And that includes the very stark facial expressions and the cross hatching and the shadows. So I tried my best to incorporate all of those things. So now I'm onto Jolene's face, and I feel like this face came out so good. And I feel like it came out good for the same reasons that made the other one bad. The first being is that I actually caught myself drawing the eyes a little bit too close, which you will see a little bit later. So luckily I caught that. And also, like I said a little bit earlier, I did change the face because I feel like if I did the face that I wanted to do, it wouldn't have looked nearly as good. And I just feel like I was starting to get the hang of drawing faces and getting used to using all of the shadows and the cross hatching. And so this nail was actually really fun. Now, since we are almost done with this nail set, I do just want to mention that I will be doing pretty much every single anime that is recommended to me. Now, of course, I won't be able to do it all at one time. I'm thinking this can be like a very long-standing series, like for years and years to come, but we will definitely see about that. As for now, I will be doing all of the recommendations that you guys give me. Now, I don't think that every single recommendation that has been made to me I've watched, so this will actually inspire me to get back into watching anime because I don't know, I feel like the longer you watch anime, the harder it is to finish a series, and that's kind of where I am right now. Like, I remember when I first started watching anime, I was able to finish them in like a week, whereas now it can take me months upon months to finish like a 2-season show, which is so bad. So I kind of have to get back on my game and like just get my life together. So yeah, as for now, I think that this was definitely a success and a great first start to the series. But I just want to say thank you guys for actually like participating in the community vote. I am so excited to do my next nail set, which will probably be, I'm thinking Black Butler, because I really want to tap into like that gothic style, which I really like. So yeah, I may do that one next, but of course, like that's not necessarily set in stone. I'm not exactly sure yet, but what I will say is that I have kind of set the bar pretty high with this one, and I really do hope you guys enjoy this one as much as I did. And even though it took like almost 7 hours to finish this, it was definitely worth the wait.
Okay, so it is the next day and I have fully completed these press-ons. And this is what they are looking like. They are a lot better than I actually anticipated. I did kind of change up this nail a little bit because her face is a little bit different, but I like it a lot better. So now we're gonna go ahead and put these on. So this is what my nails are looking like. I did go ahead and prep them already, which is why they're like kind of ashy a little bit. But if you are doing this to last, what you need to do is first make sure that your nails are fully cleansed, and for that you can just wipe them off with a little bit of alcohol. Just make sure that all of the surface oil is gone. Next, you want to push back your cuticles and just make sure that none of that cuticle is like sticking to your nail plate. And then you just want to kind of buff the surface a little bit just to make sure that these stick. And of course, before you glue them on, just make sure that you get rid of any of the dust. But for today, I'm not going to actually glue these on. I'm going to use the little tabs instead. But before we do that, let me actually take these nail tips off of the stand. Okay, so I have these little tabs and this is what I'm going to use to stick these on. Now, I'm not going to lie, I don't really enjoy these tabs, but I don't want these to stay on for that long. And the reason I don't really like these is because I feel like they are a little bit tricky to work with, but I don't know, I could just be dumb. I don't know. So I'm going to take the tab and I'm going to place it onto my nails and I'm going to press this down for about 15 seconds. I think that's how long you're supposed to do it for. Then I'm going to peel off this plastic piece and I'm just going to stick down the press-on top of this. And I'm going to press this down for about 15 seconds. Okay, so now I'm just going to wipe these off with a little bit of alcohol, mainly because I was like touching it with my fingers, so it kind of smudged on these a little bit. And lastly, I'm just going to go in with a little bit of cuticle oil.
And that completes today's set. I really do hope you guys enjoyed this one. I am honestly so proud of myself with this nail set. I actually did not expect them to come out this nice, but I love them so much. And I honestly cannot wait to do more anime nail sets in the future. Now, as you guys know, I've kind of been giving my nail sets a rating system lately. So I'm thinking on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give this nail set a good 9 out of 10. And the reason for that is because, like I said a little bit earlier, I feel like the first two nails are probably not the same aesthetic as the rest of the nails, but I'm not going to take off too many points because, again, I did mention that the show has like 25 different aesthetics, so it's fine. But other than that, I really love this nail set, and I think that for my first go, these faces look so good, especially that Jolene face on my pinky nail. Like, it just looks so good, and that's probably my favorite nail on this entire nail set. Of course, I would love to hear what you guys think of this nail set in the comments. I know that you guys have probably seen a lot of anime nail sets like on Pinterest and stuff like that, but I really wanted to do something that was more in tune with my own style, and I really do hope that you guys enjoyed this. So of course, definitely do give me your ratings in the comments as well. I am definitely open to hearing what you guys think. Definitely do stay tuned for more of these anime nails and just more nails in general. But as always, I wanted to thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and I will see you guys in the next one.